right, phase 2 of our U-pick. Many of you remember on the last video, I came out here and just cleaned up the trash and used the ripper shanks on the box blade to just kind of clean up. So now Hank is coming back with the tiller, and look at it, it's beautiful. Yeah, that is a 7-foot tiller, and it makes quick work to get things ready to plant. I love it. I just haven't quite learned how to operate it yet. I mean, actually, I've never tried. I've just always watched him do it. So I need to jump out there and see if I can do it sometime.
Alright, we made the first pass this morning. Now we'll get the second pass. We ain't got too much to do today. So we'll take the TYM T574, get all this done, and it won't take me 20 minutes. So let's get started. I can set my cruise 0.09 or 0.9. And she'll be smooth sailing. I'm tilling about, I don't know, 2 inches, something like that. I don't have it all the way to the bottom. I just got to be careful when I get around the root structure of these trees not to go too deep. And then, you know, you can take your loader off. If you take your loader off, you have more maneuverability, but we're okay, I think. I'm going to get as close as I can to this fence down here, and then I'll make some passes this way.
I know you can't tell on this video, but this is quite the hill. Comes down toward the road. So when I make my rows, I'll have to compensate for the water rushing down. Odd shape. It's almost like triangular, but it's got, so the driveway goes up at one angle and then the fence goes at another. So you just kind of have to pick which way you want the rows to go. Can you imagine what our ancestors did with no tractor? They had to do everything by hand or with, you know, mules or horses. We're very fortunate to live in a day where technology can assist us. So we have 2 different tractors. The one you saw in my previous video with my tractor, the smaller one, and this is the T574 TYM. We love our TYM tractors. It's a good tractor.
like I say, when you get around that tree, just had to raise the tiller up a little bit so I don't get the root structure. $221 hours on the machine. There's the boss lady.
The implements we have on our tractors are Homestead implements. Fantastic company, fantastic customer service. We just love those guys, and their implements are top notch. So if you're needing a tiller or box blade or grapple or anything, go visit Homestead Implements on their website. Tell them I sent you. So I have amended this soil. We live on a clay hill basically. It's a sandy top soil with clay underneath. And I've brought compost in here and we've mixed compost in, and I don't know, this is probably the third planting on this plot. So it's getting there. It's still a lot of sand though, as you can see. But fortunately, the things I'll be planting in here don't mind the sand, so it's all good. I love the smell of fresh ground, fresh soil. Guess that's the flower farmer in me, right? That poor fence is just gonna drive me crazy until we get it fixed. But right now, planting is taking priority. But that does also help keep the deer out. All that is a hunting lease over there. And the deer would come over here and eat my sunflowers last year.
I want to say something else too. See the curve right here? You don't want to, tillers are made to go straight. So you don't want to make too big of a turn. If you make a slow sweeping turn, then you should be fine. But don't make drastic 90-degree turns and stuff like that with your tiller. They're not designed to do that.
Think about the tiller. sure how close I'll plant to these trees anyway. They give a pretty big shade. Beautiful. Yippee! Ready to plant.
When I get my tiller depth set, like I put it on between its 2 and 3, that just kind of helps you control the depth when you're tilling. And then you can maneuver the tractor, you know, to get around the roots and stuff and not worry about going too deep where you kill the tree. So one thing I've learned about tilling is you got to go slow. I don't know if those humps show up right here. Well, that's because I sped up going uphill. I tilled that portion uphill, and you can see these humps. That's where I ended up the row. So that's where I raised my tiller. But the slower you go, the smoother your till is going to be, or the smoother the land is going to be. So that's kind of the key thing to remember when you're using a tiller. And I'm sure it's the same with plowing. You know, plowing versus tilling, you know, two different functions, two different outcomes. So, yeah, let's do that. Literally, it might not even took 10 minutes. Probably 10 minutes is what it took. 15 at the most. All right, 20. 23 if I'm lucky. All right, 25. No, I'm just kidding. 10 to 15 minutes and we were done.
This is great. Now I've got a blank canvas. I can get in here, lay my rows out, and start planting. I'll probably use the earthway seeder in here just to walk behind it and plant the rows. So this is wonderful. Looks so big when it's clean, doesn't it? It's probably, I don't know, maybe 1/4 acre, maybe a little bigger. I forgot the exact measurements. I have measured it off before when we did the maize, so love it. So now that everything is tilled up and ready to plant, I need to establish where I want my rows to go. And I know I'd mentioned before, it's hard to see the dynamics or the topography of the land, but this is up on a hill where I'm at, facing the highway. See, the highway is down there and it drops. So obviously the water rushes down this hill, and I want to lay out the rows where I can kind of control that. I don't want the rows to be, you know, have any erosion or anything. So got to think about that when I go to lay them out. And I'm not sure if I want like super long rows that you have to go all the way to the end and then go back up the other row, or if I want to do like sections. I haven't decided that yet. So let me think about that for a minute. That's usually what I do, and idea will pop into my head. Another thing that I also have to consider is the wind. It just funnels right through here, as you can see where it got our fence on both sides. And today it's pretty windy. The wind typically comes from my back, which is west facing. So, you know, it comes out of the west, south or southwest. And so thinking about, you know, the sunflowers and the taller things, what would be the best way to situate those beds so I don't get, you know, huge amounts of wind tunneling through here and knocking them all down. Okay, you know me, I Google everything. I mean, you can literally Google anything, right? So I Googled what is the best practice to lay out your garden on a slope. And I went down a rabbit hole and discovered a thing called contour farming, which I'd seen before, like up here in the country when you have like cornfields or peanut fields or cotton fields or whatever, and you can see how they kind of make like little berms or something. And I always like wondered if that was for erosion purposes or what. So I started reading about contour farming. Very, very interesting. So after reading that, I am totally going to plant according to the contour of this hill. So ideally, the purpose is you want to slow the water down so it doesn't erode, but yet it permeates and builds up into your soil. And so you actually retain the water instead of it rushing down the hill and washing everything away with it. So that's what I'm going to do. I think I'll do semicircles and kind of step down this hill with my rows. So I know I'm not the only one that's never heard of that, right? I'm embarrassed to say that as a farmer, but I'm not really a big ag farmer, so that's more like big ag stuff. But who else has never heard of contour farming? Raise your hand in the comments below. Have you ever heard of it? Just to make an example of what I'm talking about that I'm going to do, I took a stick and I drew these lines. And can you see? So I just basically put a curve in it where the hill is probably the most pronounced, and then we'll build those rows up and it will kind of act like steps and it will slow down the water. What do you think? I just created myself a lot of work, didn't I? But I think it's cool. Well, I guess my contouring project is gonna have to wait because it's starting to rain. So we will call it a day, and I'll keep you posted on this because I think this is gonna be a really cool idea. What do you think? All right, well, thanks for watching. Remember, bloom where you're planted.